Hello everyone. As I had told before, I will be starting my current affairs series with this video. As I had mentioned before, I will start my current affairs series with a video on Atmanirbhar Bharat, the art of self-reliance. So I will share some information and my thoughts regarding the topic, and also there will be small clips from the PM which will reinforce what I am talking about. So let's get started. So this is the Make in India campaign that was started in 2014, and it's been supported by many schemes which I will talk about in this video. So this is our PM. This is the Minister Nirmala Sitharaman. This is the Niti Aayog CEO Amitabh Kant, and this is Shaktikanta Das, the RBI governor. So you will see these four people mainly spearheading the campaign of Atmanirbhar Bharat. I have coined a new term called micro level self reliance. So I was just thinking that as charity begins at home, correlating that here, even self reliance should begin at the home itself. So, as students might be, we should be self reliant in our studies. We should also be self reliant in our household chores, not to be dependent upon our parents, not to be dependent on the maid. We need to learn to do our household chores ourselves. Let us first understand where it all got started. Last year, in the Indo China border, there was tremendous tension building up during the period of April to June. It finally culminated in the Galwan clashes, in which we lost 20 of our brave soldiers. China also lost many of its soldiers. A Russian report claimed that they lost 45. But the Chinese are not really known for their honesty, so they will never accept that. Anyways, that's when our decision makers realized that we should not only fight China militarily, but also economically. Our condition of imports is really sad, and we are dependent upon China for many items, mainly in the technological sector. Therefore, the idea of Atmanirbhar Bharat came to our mind. So, in this PPT, you can see that our PM visited, it was a surprise visit to Leh to boost our Jawans' morale after the clashes. And this is the one of the pictures of the clashes that was actually released by the Chinese government. So let's listen to a small clip of the Prime Minister's speech.
साथियों, हम पिछली शताब्दी से ही लगातार सुनते आए हैं कि 21वीं सदी हिंदुस्तान की है। हमें कोरोना से पहले की दुनिया को, वैश्विक व्यवस्थाओं को विस्तार से देखने समझने का मौका मिला है।
There is a difference between self-sufficiency and self-reliance. Self-sufficiency is kind of isolation. So a country is saying that I don't want to import, I don't want to export, and I'm completely dependent on my resources, and I won't talk with any nation, and I don't want any foreign relations. So that isolation in today's world is not possible. Every country, however big or developed it is, will be interdependent on others. What we are talking about is self-reliance. Self-reliance is talking to the world from a position of strength. If we are not economically self-reliant, then we start losing our political sovereignty. The Atmanirbhar Bharat scheme was launched in 5 tranches, of which the first two were the major ones. So I will be covering them here. The first tranche was mainly for extending credit guarantees, that is loans. So 3 lakh crore was extended to the MSME sector, which is the backbone of the manufacturing sector, and up to 200 crore whatever government procurement had to be done. So there only domestic firms could bid. So this was to prohibit foreign countries, that is mainly China, from getting into the government business and supporting the domestic firms. So this is the main idea of Atmanirbhar Bharat. Then to enhance the take-home pay of employees, the EPF was slashed for 3 months from 24% to 20% of the salary, and the IT returns deadline was extended. And 30,000 crore as special liquidity was extended to housing finance or microfinance firms, again to provide that funds, that capital, that liquidity which was required during the pandemic. The second tranche again was based on providing that liquidity to small businesses, to farmers, and to the street vendors. So, but one more thing that was added was they started providing food as they realized that no one should sleep hungry in the pandemic. Because the last pandemic, it more than the infection, the lack of food and hunger and starvation had killed the people. So 5 kg grain, that is either rice or wheat, was provided per person. 1 kg chana per family for 2 months. And the other thing was, the main thing, this is a good summary, that farmers were given more cheap credit. So less interest rate, but more credit to tide over the crisis. And street vendors were also given funds to start again. One more scheme was the Manrega, which was provided to migrant workers. The scale was increased again in order to support and give funds to them. They had also launched the Atmanirbhar Bharat Rozgar Yojana, wherein after 1st October 2020, for establishments that hire employees up to 1,000 employees, the 24% of the wages were to be subsidized by the central government, and for more than 1,000 employees, it was 12% of the EPF wages. Let us listen to a small clip.
कोरोना संकट के बाद भी दुनिया में जो स्थितियां बन रही हैं उसे भी हम निरंतर देख रहे हैं। जब हम दोनों कालखंडों को भारत के नजरिए से देखते हैं तो लगता है कि 21वीं सदी भारत की हो, ये हमारा सपना ही नहीं, ये हम सभी की जिम्मेदारी भी है।
From here, what is the way forward? The way forward is following the 5 pillars of self-reliant India. Economy, they are saying quantum jumps, not incremental changes. So not walking 1 or 2 steps, but jumping a big leap. Infrastructure, one that represents modern India. So our roads, our all other infrastructure, they need to be built up fast, and they need to have that represent modern India, meaning they need to have the modern technology. System needs to be technology driven. Then only can it be fast and transparent also. Demography, vibrant demography of the largest democracy. So we should always take pride in being the largest democracy of the world. Demand, full utilization of power of demand and supply. Demand and supply, a big factor of the economy. The Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, it was a package of 20 lakh crore, that is about 10% of the GDP. It not only included the 5 tranches of the government, but also the tranche of the RBI, which was released just about in March or April. Another important scheme that the government launched was the performance linked incentive, that is the PLI scheme. So Make in India, the movement was launched in 2014, but this movement was now the government has started to pursue this more quite aggressively by providing performance linked incentives. So what are PLIs? PLIs are tax incentives, and also reductions in duties, import duties, or logistics costs, supporting with land, the land banks, water, electricity. Anyone who wants to establish an industry in India, start manufacturing, will be supported by the government. So the PLI schemes can lead to production worth $520 billion in 5 years. Sectors with PLI scheme to witness workforce doubling. So as more investment comes into India, more employment will be generated. The unemployment rate would go down, and that the wheel of the economy will start running very fast. Average of 5% of production is given as incentive in PLI. So as of now, 13 sectors have been given the PLI worth 1.97 lakh crore in the budget itself. So here what we are aiming is, we need to cut foreign dependence. It's on auto parts, medical equipment. Auto parts is in the semiconductor chips. I also told you about our dependence on China for in the technological sector. So the electronics, the hardware sector, mobile phones, everything, wherever we see, it's the Chinese companies. They have 76% of the Indian market in the mobile handset sector. So as an example here, it is the PLI scheme for large scale electronics. So again, the mobile phone brands were provided with the PLI. If you would have heard Micromax, Lava, so two Indian companies just they have launched in about November 2020. So the government has pushed and therefore the companies have also given heed to the call. So finally, some good news here. There have been record exports since independence in July 2021 in India. So since India got independence in 1947, we have had record exports in July 2021 at $35 billion. The recovery has started resuming. Employment has risen for first time in 16 months. The PMI index, which indicates the manufacturing, so its base is 50, that has reached 55.3 in July, which was close to the one in April before the second wave started hitting hard. The GST mop up in July was 1.16 lakh crore. This figure, we had reached it in January, February, but again, because of the second wave, the recovery was delayed. So again, it is picked up and we have again reached 1.16 lakh crore in July. The April-July exports have been 32.6% of the $400 billion FY22 target set by the government for exports. So April to July, that is 4-month period out of 12 months. So about 33% of the time, in that 32.6% of the exports have happened. So we are on track to achieve the target of the $400 billion export target. The only problem here is the trade deficit. This trade deficit conspicuously keeps on widening even when our exports increase. Even though the exports are at $35.2 billion, the imports are at $46.4 billion. Now this, it increases because of our dependence of fuel, oil and crude oil on the Gulf countries. So once we start investing in renewable energy, so then this figure is bound to go down. Renewable energy, there was a good news in the paper today that we have reached 100 gigawatt of renewable energy before the 75th Independence Day. The Prime Minister has set a target of 175 gigawatt by 2022 and about 480, the figure is around 500 gigawatt till 2030. So we are giving this push to renewable energy in order to bring this import down and the export up, so that the trade deficit becomes a trade surplus, and instead of the money leaking out of the country, the money starts entering the country. A short video on self-reliant India.
विश्व की आज की स्थिति हमें सिखाती है कि इसका मार्ग एक ही है, आत्मनिर्भर भारत। हमारे यहां शास्त्रों में कहा गया है, एषः पंथः, यानी यही रास्ता है आत्मनिर्भर भारत।
When talking about self-reliant India, there are two events which I certainly can't miss. So one is the Green Revolution. So the Green Revolution, it happened during the 1960s and the 1970s, when modern technology and science was used to increase the agricultural yield, and the high yielding variety, that is the HYV seeds. Then other facilities like tractors, irrigation facilities, pesticides and fertilizers were used to increase the yield. So we were a grain deficient nation at that time, and then we became a nation which had food security for all due to the Green Revolution, and now we are in the top 10 countries in exporting agricultural goods. Dr. M.S. Swaminathan, he was the father of the Green Revolution in India. So it was because of his efforts that we are so ahead in our agricultural sector right now. It is worth noting that even though other sectors of the economy were contracting, the agricultural sector stood tall, stood resilient, and grew 3% in 2019-20, unaffected by the pandemic. The second event was the White Revolution that led to a tremendous increase of milk production in India. It was launched on 13th January 1970, codenamed Operation Flood. So, flooding India with milk, and this was powered by the National Dairy Cooperative Movement. The Dr. Varghese Kurian, he was the father of the White Revolution. So he was also the MD of Amul, as I remember. Amul is, if many of you must be knowing, its full form is Anand Milk Union Limited. Even the other brands, Gokul, Varna, if you see at the packet, it reads cooperatives. So they are all cooperatives that many of the farmers have come together and formed such companies, and they have formed such brands, and they are selling milk in the market. We are a leading producer of milk in the world. I think the largest producer of milk, if I'm not wrong. I would like to wish all of you a very happy 75th Independence Day. We take pride in our independence. We should also value the freedom that we have got. Our, I like to end with a quote by the PM: "Our freedom fighters, they died for the country. They sacrificed their lives for the country." In this century, the best tribute that we can pay is to live for the country. We should believe in ourselves. If we believe in ourselves, we can achieve anything. We can achieve $5 trillion by FY24, a $10 trillion economy by FY 2030, but only if we believe. So thank you everyone for watching. Do subscribe if you like the video. Bye bye.